I got some calls yesterday, but I said I cannot fail the devotees again. Last time, I was so tight with so many things, and it was also Bhishma Panchaka ending. So I taught for 3 hours that day. I taught for 3 hours that day, and then I went for the Bhishma Panchaka to break the fast. So I came back. I was tired. I said, let me rest for some few hours before the class. And that was it. I woke up 9:30 after the class. So today, even though my health is not so good, I have some catarrh and some cough, but I'll manage. So anyway, just give me 1 second. Let me pass water and then come back in a second.
Thank you for being here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, so we can begin.
Okay, Small Sadi, are you there? Okay, dear devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today is the second day in the week. We're fortunate we have today with us His Grace SRIVAS VANACARI, who is going to be speaking to us from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we're taking our readings from 3rd Canto, chapter 4, text number 29. You're welcome, SRIVAS VANACARI.
Thank you. We are happy to be here to gain your association. I missed it the last time, and today I don't want to miss it.
Thank you very much. We'll put the verse on the screen and you can take it over from there.
Okay. Narayana namaskritya narachaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat nashtapraya swabhadresu nityam bhagavatam sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya. And for today, we are treating text 29, which is on the screen. So I'll just go through. Shri Shuka Uvacha Brahma Sapapa Deshena Kalena Moga Vanchitaha Samhritya Swakulam Spritam Tyaksham Deham Achintayat. Sri Shuka Uvacha Brahma Sapapa Deshena Kalena Moga Vanchitaha Samhritya Swakulam Spritam Tyaksham Deham Achintayat. Sri Shuka Uvacha Brahma Sapapa Deshena Kalena Moga Vanchitaha Samhritya Swakulam Spitam Taksham Deham Achintayat. Word for word translation. Sri Shuka Uvacha, Sukadeva Goswami said, Brahma Sapa, cursing by the Brahmanas, Apadeshana on the plea by such a show. Kalina by the eternal time. Amoga unfailing. Vanchitaha, one who so desires. Samritya, closing. Swakulam, own family. Spitam, excessively numerous. Tyakshan, after giving up. Deham, the universal form. Achintayat, thought to himself. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Laisi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami replied, my dear king, the cursing of the Brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire of the Lord. He wanted to disappear from the face of the earth after dispatching his excessively numerous family members. He thought to himself as follows. Purport. In this verse, the word Tyakshan is very significant in relation to Lord Krishna's leaving his body. Since he is the eternal form of existence, knowledge, and bliss, his body and himself are identical. Therefore, how is it possible that he would leave his body and then disappear from the vision of the world? There is a great controversy amongst the non-devotees or Mayavadis about the mysterious disappearance of the Lord, and the doubts of those men with a poor fund of knowledge have been very elaborately cleared by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandarbhas. According to Brahma Samhita, the Lord has many forms. It is stated herein that the Lord has innumerable forms, and when he appears within the vision of the living entities, as Lord Krishna actually appeared, all such forms amalgamate with him. Besides all these infallible forms, he has his universal form, as manifested before Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here in this verse, the word spitam is also used, which indicates that he left his gigantic universal form called the Virat Rupa, not his primeval eternal form, because there is hardly any possibility of his changing his form of Satchit Ananda. This simple understanding is at once realized by the devotees of the Lord, but those who are non-devotees, who perform hardly any devotional service to the Lord, either do not understand this simple fact or purposely raise a controversy to defeat the eternity of the transcendental body of the Lord. This is due to the defect called the cheating propensity of the imperfect living entities. By practical experience also, it is seen up to the present day that the Lord's transcendental form is worshipped by devotees in different temples. And all the devotees of the Lord factually realize that the form of the deity in the temple is not different from the form of the Lord. This inconceivable performance of the internal potency of the Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritaha. The Lord reserved the right of not being exposed to everyone. In the Padma Purana, it is also said, Ata Sri Krishna Namadi Nambavat Grayam Inriyai. The name and the form of the Lord cannot be perceived by the material senses. But when he appears within the vision of the mundane people, he assumes the form of the Virat Rupa. This is an additional material exhibition of form and is supported by the logic of a subject and its adjectives. In grammar, when an adjective is taken away from the subject it modifies, does not change. Similarly, when the Lord quits his Virat Rupa, his eternal form does not change, although there is no material difference between himself and any one of his innumerable forms. In the 5th canto, it will be seen how the Lord is worshipped in different planets, in his different forms, even now, and how he is worshipped in different temples of this earth also. Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have very elaborately explained this incident of the Lord's disappearance in their commentaries, quoting various authentic versions of Vedic literatures. We purposely do not include them all here to avoid an increase in the volume of this book. The entire matter is explained in Bhagavad Gita as quoted above. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to anyone, to everyone. He always keeps himself out of the vision of the non-devotees, who are devoid of love and devotion. And thus he puts them still further away from the Lord. The Lord appeared on the invitation of Brahma, who prayed before Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. And therefore, when the Lord appeared, all the forms of Vishnu amalgamated with him. And when the mission was fulfilled, all of them disintegrated from him in the usual course. Translation again. Shukadeva Goswami replied, "My dear king, the cursing of the Brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire of the Lord. He wanted to disappear from the face of the earth after dispatching his excessive numerous family members. He thought to himself as follows." Om Gyana Timaridasya Gyanan Gyanashalakaya Chakshuramilitam Yena Tasmahi Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sanjivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashri Tatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namini. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini. Nirvise Sashrimyapati Pasachade Satarini. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya vacha patitanam pavinibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pranayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namini gauratvize namaha. Nityanando vatutendur vasuda pranavalabaha Janavir Jivita Patir Krishna Prema Prabhu Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachirananda Purvajaha Bhavam Mata Jagatra Tarata Gora Kele Varaha Advaitam Harina Dvaita Racharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Itam Sham Advaita Acharya Shraye Panchatattamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaptikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Govindaya Namo Namaha Namapankajanabaya Namapankajamaline Namapankanyitraya Namaste Pankajagraye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagarhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Dirgatima Sarvasra Padambu Joradha Mandana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimat Radhagara Simhastanastau Srila Govinda Devo Prishtyali Visevya Manusmarami Srimam Rasan Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karusan Benusranai Gopi Gopinata Sriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Ghorangi Radhe Brindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gam karoti vachalam pangum lagayate grim yat kri patamahadvande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandala Karam Vyapta Yinachara Charam Tarpadam Dashitam Yera Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So everyone is welcome to today's class. As I said, I have some cough. You can see some catarrh. But I disappointed everyone the last time. So I don't want to disappoint anybody today again. So please forgive me for the last disappointment, because once you accept the service, you have to do it. And so I failed to do the service. I felt very guilty, but it was circumstances beyond my control. So anyway, because of that today, I said, if I'm dying, I will crawl to the class. and make myself present. So today's topic is a very controversial topic, as Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport, that the disappearance of the Lord disappearance of Krishna from this planet is a great subject matter for both hearing and discussion, because it's very bewildering. Therefore, Queen Kunti describes the disappearance of the Lord as Chikrishitam. Chikrishitam means it's a lila, it's a pastime. It is something the Lord himself, Krishna himself arranged it. Krishna himself wanted it. Krishna himself, he wanted to leave the world in that way. Though it is very, very bewildering for non-devotees, and even some devotees are also bewildered. But the fact is, Krishna is a transcendental personality, and he has the sole right to choose whatever pastime he wants to perform at any time. Generally, we try to limit the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We want to put barriers that the Lord cannot do this, or the Lord can do this. That is the mindset of either non-devotees or neophyte devotees. Once you describe Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes he becomes the greatest personality. Krishnaya, Purushaya, Purna, Parat, Paraya. Krishna is Purna Purushaya. He is a complete, Purna means is complete. He is a complete Purushaya, the complete personality of Godhead, the complete control of everything. He is Karanaya, Karanaya. He is the cause of all causes. He is Paraya. He is superior to everyone else. So there is no question of doubting Krishna's position. Krishna can do and undo. That is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing can stop Krishna from doing what he wants to do. No one can check Krishna from doing what he wants to do. Even Balaram, who is described as his senior brother, he cannot check him, because he is the Purna Purushaya. He is a complete Supreme Personality of Godhead, beyond everyone else. So therefore, Krishna, he can perform any lila he wants. He can perform any activity he wants. He can do anything he wants. And that is why Srila Vyasadeva described him as Swarat in the very first verse. Jarmandi Asya Yataha, Swarat. That Krishna is completely free. He is independent. He does not depend on anyone to decide what he wants to do. What Krishna wants to do as a supreme personality of Godhead, he does. For us, we depend on so many factors. We may plan to do something, but sometimes we are checked by certain forces. We are not able to do it. Krishna is not like that. He is parata para. He is superior to everyone else. He's better than everyone else. No one is equal to him, and no one is greater than him. That is the position of Krishna. So therefore, Kunti is saying, Naveda kaschit bhagavams chikrishitam. Tave hamanasya nrinam vidambasam. Vidambasam. Oh Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and are so misleading and bewildering. So because Krishna, he appears like an ordinary human being. He appears in the human form, 2 legs, 2 hands, and all that our bodies have. So there is the tendency to equate him with us, to equate his transcendental body with us. But actually, that is not the case. So, Krishna's disappearance is so bewildering. When Krishna wanted to come into the material world, when Brahma and the demigods, they went to pray to Kshirodakashayi Vishnu for Krishna's appearance, Krishna informed Brahma that the demigods, they should take birth in the Yadu dynasty, in the Vrishni dynasty, and participate in his pastimes. So according to the order of Krishna, many demigods and demigoddesses, they took birth in the Yadu dynasty, Vrishni dynasty, Bhoja dynasty, all these dynasties related to Krishna, and they all participated in Krishna's pastimes in different ways. And so when it was time for the Lord to leave the planet, he considered that he must dispatch all his family members, because the Yadu dynasty, Vrishni dynasty, Bhoja dynasty, they constituted a very, very powerful force that no one else on the surface of the earth could deal with it, could handle it. Only Krishna could handle them. So therefore, Krishna, he decided to wind up his family members first. So it is said that in the Sabha, the assembly hall in Dwaraka, Krishna was there with all the elderly people. And then Krishna gave an indication. Krishna said, Ete Gora Mahopata Dwarvatyam Yama Ketavaha Murhutam api steyam atrano yadu pungavaha. Krishna addressed the leaders of the Yadu dynasty. He said, please note all these terrible omens that have appeared in Dwaraka, just like the flags of death. We should not remain here a moment longer. This verse that we are reading today is talking about the curse of the Brahmanas. And as the verse says, it was just a plea. It was Krishna's plan to wind up his huge and powerful family from the surface of the earth. So he arranged for the boys in Dwaraka to play games with the saints, sadhu, saintly people. They covered themselves with some cloth, pretending to be pregnant. I think Samba was doing that. And they were asking the saintly people what kind of child that woman, pregnant woman, would deliver. And the saintly people were very angry that the children were making jest of them. And so they issued a curse. They said the child that you're going to born, the child that woman is going to born will be the cause of the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty. So when the boys heard that curse, they quickly removed the cloth. And then they saw a club, a metal club was in there. So they had to rush to inform the elders this has happened. And the elders said, all right, what we shall do is they should grind that club. Since it's going to be the cause of the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty, it should be ground into powder and taken into the sea and thrown away, so that there is no possibility of that, metal club becoming an instrument of annihilation for the Yadavas. And so that was carried out. And so now Krishna, that has happened, the curse has taken place, the metal club has been presented to the elders. They have taken it and they have given their advice, and they've ground it into powder and they've thrown it away. But thereafter, Krishna in the assembly hall told the members of the Yadus, the elderly members of the Yadu dynasty, that my dear leaders, please note all these terrible omens that have appeared in Dwaraka. They are just like the flags of death, and we should not remain here any longer. So in this way, Krishna gives a hint that it is time for him to leave the planet. So, of course, whatever Krishna says is accepted. He's Dwarkanath. He's the king of Dwaraka. And whatever he says, whatever the king says, is accepted by the citizens. So when Krishna said that, immediately the elders, they said, so be it, so be it. Your words, we stand by your words. Whatever you have said will come to pass. So we must abide by your words. And so they began to prepare. Then again, Krishna indicated the second one. He says, the Brahmanas are at Prabhasha Kshetra, and we must go there, perform Shraddha ceremony, and reward the Brahmanas with cows, with land, with gold, with clothing, with elephants, with horses, with chariots, and dwelling places. So when Krishna spoke like this, immediately all the elders agreed that we must do that immediately. And so immediately the whole Yadu dynasty, all the men, they all load up their properties, their belongings, and they moved to Prabhasa Kshetra. And then, with great devotion, the Yadavas perform all the religious ceremonies according to the instructions of Krishna. And then they also perform various other auspicious rituals to satisfy the Lord. Then what happened? Tatastasmi mahapanam papru mariyakam madu dishta vibram sita dio yat drivai brashate matihir. Then because the Lord wanted to end their presence on the earth, he wanted to conclude their activities on the earth planet. The Lord influenced them. He bewildered them. And they got involved in drinking some beverage. It's called Maria beverage, produced from rice. And by drinking that in excess, all the Yadus, they got intoxicated. And when they got intoxicated, they began to challenge each other. They began to speak harshly towards each other. That's normal for drunkards. Drunkards, they say anything. So they started abusing each other. They started talking anything to each other. And then that escalated into a war. And the metal that was ground into powder and thrown into the sea, by Krishna's arrangement, they were brought back to the shores of the sea. And then they germinated into shrubs. And so when this conflagration, this war, this fight, family fight began, each of them were breaking those shrubs. They were looking like trees, but when they break them, they turn into iron. And so they use those iron bars to eliminate each other. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur comments that actually these Yadus who went to the Prabhasa Kshetra to fight, to perform the ceremonies and to fight and do all those things, he said they are mostly the demigods. Because Krishna's personal associates that came with him to this planet, they were somewhere else. Krishna had arranged for them to be somewhere else, and Krishna went back with them to the spiritual world. Those who got involved in drinking and fighting, they were actually the demigods and demigoddesses who had taken birth in the family of the Yadus. But for the eternal associates of Krishna who came with him, they did not have to go to Prabhasa Kshetra to get involved in this intoxication and get involved in fighting one another. So when this happened, Balaram understood that the time is near. And Balaram did not want Krishna to leave before him. He could not bear the separation of Krishna or from Krishna. So Balaram decided to go first. So as soon as all these Yadus were destroyed by fighting, Balaram sat on the seashore. It says, Rama Samudra Velayam Yogam Astaya Purusham Tatyaja Lokam Manusham Samyo Yatmanam Atmani. That Lord Balaram, after observing what had happened, he understood that the time of departure was close. So he sat down on the shore of the ocean and fixed himself in meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he disappeared from this world. Actually, the details are given that as Balaram was sitting in meditation, Anantasesha came out of his mouth, whitish Anantasesha came out of his mouth and carried Balaram and went into the skies out of the vision of this world. So Balaram did not leave any body, any form behind. Anantasesha came out of his mouth and carried him to the spiritual sky. So when Balaram left, then Krishna had to also leave because now his senior brother was gone. The Yadus were gone, his senior brother is gone, and he has to go also. So it is said, at that time, a hunter by the name Jara appeared on the scene. And this Jara, from a distance, he saw Krishna's lotus foot. So beautiful, he thought it was the face of a deer. And so he shot at it. Then he realized that there was no sound of an animal crying. There was no struggling, nothing. Everything was quiet. So he was a bit surprised that if this is an animal, once it is hit by the arrow, it will make some noise. And it will begin to run here and run there, it will make some noise. But there was no noise, there was no crying, there was nothing, no sound. So he decided to go near, and to his surprise, he saw the personality was Krishna himself. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that actually the arrow that was shot did not actually enter Krishna's foot. Some people say it entered. Some translators and they say it entered, but like Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that the arrow did not actually enter Krishna's foot. Because, he said, because if it had entered Krishna's foot, then Jara would not be paying obeisances to the Lord. Jara would want to remove the arrow from the leg of the Lord. Once he recognized that it's Krishna he has hit, then actually he will want to do something to alleviate the situation. But instead, it is said that Jara, he fell down before the Lord and began to offer prayers and obeisances, indicating that the Lord was not actually wounded, as sometimes it is translated. So, Krishna made that arrangement. Krishna brought Jara to perform that service. Actually, it is also said that when Jara was lamenting so much that he had wounded the Lord, he had shot the Lord, he had offended the Lord, Krishna told him, don't worry, it is my own arrangement. I want to live in this way, and I have invited you here, and you've come to do your service. Just wait. You go back home, back to Godhead. And as Jara was waiting, a golden aircraft arrived to take Jara back home, back to Godhead. So even though that personality appeared like a wretched hunter, a low-class hunter, but he was just mimicking a hunter, but actually he's one of Krishna's parshadas, Krishna's eternal associates, Krishna's dear devotees, who was summoned by the Lord to perform this seva, and he did. So therefore, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna was not affected. Krishna's foot was not wounded. There was no any wound in the Lord's leg, even though Jara shot an arrow at him. And that is true. Arrows, weapons, whatever, they're all Krishna's energy. They're Krishna's material energy. When Krishna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, they were throwing all kinds of weapons. They were doing all kinds of things at Krishna. The only thing that touched Krishna is Bhishma Dev's arrows. But that is, Bhishma Dev had a desire because he relates to Krishna in chivalry. So because of that relationship, Krishna had to show Bhishma Dev that, yes, this is our relationship. And so accept your arrows as lotus flowers. They said Bhishma Dev's arrows were just like lotus flowers or love letters that were being thrown on a lover. Because that's a relationship between Bhishma Dev and Krishna. And so he had to act in that capacity. So Krishna wanted it that way, and he allowed Bhishma Dev to shoot his arrows at him. And even there was a semblance of bloodshed. All that is just drama. It's drama. All this being described is drama. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Namashe Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Prakriti Param Alakshyam Sarvabhutanam Antabahir Avashtitam. Oh Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality of Godhead, and you are unaffected by the qualities of this material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you remain invisible to all. So Krishna, he's unaffected by material nature. Harihi nirguna shakshat. Purusha para prakrite. Krishna is beyond the three modes of material nature. He's beyond, he's not affected by them. And the whole material creation is a product of the three modes of material nature. So if Krishna is nirguna shakshat, above the three modes of material nature, how can he be affected by material elements like arrows and weapons and so on and so forth? So Krishna is just performing a drama. He is performing his leelas, his pastimes. And Kunti Devi beautifully describes Krishna's dramatic activities. He says, Maya Javani Kachanam Agya Dokshajam Avyayam. Not Lakshyase Muda Drisha Nato Natya Dharo Yataha. That being beyond the range of all limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of your deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. Sometimes when people perform drama, it's difficult to identify the people because they dress in a particular costume. And sometimes it's difficult to identify the artists, the characters in the drama because of the costume. So Kunti Devi is saying that Krishna, even though he's the supreme personality of Godhead, beyond the range of limited sense perception, he is eternally irreproachable, being covered by the curtain of his deluding energy. So, Krishna cannot be understood. His pastimes cannot be understood. His activities cannot be understood by common people. As he himself says, Bhaktyamam abhijanate yavanyas chasmita twataha, that I can only be known by the process of devotional service. Without devotional service, no one can understand the intricacies of his activities. That is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is in his own class, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna, he is in his own class because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no equal, there is no competitor, there is no superior. That is his position. He can do whatever he wants. He can do and undo. So that is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Brahma went to Kshirodakashayi Vishnu and prayed for the Lord to appear, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is the agency through which all incarnations are coming. So Krishna also passed through Kshirodakashayi Vishnu to give instruction and to come down. So it is said that when Krishna appeared, all the various forms, they entered into the Lord. They amalgamated into the Lord. We can count the various expansions of the Lord. In one of the Puranas, it is mentioned that one time Lord Brahma went to visit Lord Shiva, and then when he went there, Lord Shiva was in meditation. So Brahma had to wait. And when Lord Shiva finally came out of his meditation, Brahma was asking him, my dear boy, what are you meditating upon? What is your object of meditation? You're so absorbed that you don't even know that I've come. And Lord Shiva told him that I'm meditating on the eternal form of Krishna, Goloka Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what I'm meditating on. And he says, if you see that form, you will not want to see any other form. And that pricked the interest of Brahma. Brahma said, I've seen the Lord, but I've seen his Garbhodakashaya Vishnu form. So can you offer me the opportunity to see that form? And Lord Shiva said, all right, I will take you there. So it is said that somehow or the other, Lord Shiva revealed that form, that Goloka Krishna form, that Swayam Bhagavan form to Lord Brahma. And as Brahma was watching all the various expansions, various incarnations, they are all coming and entering into Lord Krishna. Lord Narasimhadev came, entered into Krishna. Narayan came, entered into Krishna. Ramachandra came, entered into Krishna. Varahadev came, entered into Krishna. Kurma came, entered into Krishna. All the various incarnations, they all came and entered into Krishna. Then Brahma understood that actually there is no one greater than Goloka Krishna, which we always say, Nandan Krishna. That is the original form of the Lord. So it is said, so when Krishna appeared in this world, it also happened. Various expansions, they all took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the scripture says that when Krishna comes into the world, all the incarnations, all the expansions, they all take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This includes the universal form. When Arjuna requested Krishna to show him his universal form, Krishna did not go somewhere looking for the universal form. Krishna did not perform some yoga to show the universal form. Krishna did not perform some magic to show the universal form. He just manifested the universal form right in front of Arjuna. But Arjuna did not have the courage to bear the horrendous display of the universal form with 1,000 heads, 1,000 mouths, 1,000 hands, 1,000 legs, 1,000 eyes, consuming the whole creation. Arjuna could not bear to watch that. So immediately he said, my dear Lord, this form you are showing me, I cannot bear it. Please withdraw it. So in one instance, Arjuna is demanding to see the universal form, how the Lord enters the universe, how the Lord controls the universe. Arjuna wanted to see that. Krishna Prabhupada writes that Arjuna understands that, but just for the future, that some rascal does not come and claim to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna wanted to put up this evidence. He wanted a certification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so Arjuna demanded to see the universal form just for this reason. Arjuna was satisfied seeing the 200 form of Krishna. Sometimes Krishna also displayed the 400 form. Arjuna has seen all that also. He was satisfied with that. But just to establish the fact that no rascal will come and claim that he's the Supreme Lord without displaying his universal form, Arjuna requested for this universal form. But what we have to understand is that the universal form, because it represents the material universe, it is not eternal. It represents the material universe. And so when the material universe is withdrawn, it is also non-existent. So it is said that the body that Krishna left behind, even though the arrow did not wound him, but Krishna left a body behind. That body he left behind is not the Satchit Ananda form. It is the Virat Rupa form, the universal form. And that universal form represents his authority in the material world. It shows how the Lord controls the material world. So therefore, we have to understand that Arjuna requested to see that form just to register in the minds of all that the Lord has a spiritual form and it also has this external form, which is the Virat Rupa, that matches with the universe. It belongs to the universe. It does not belong to the spiritual sky. It is part of the material creation. And the Lord shows that. So when Arjuna could not bear it, he again appealed to the Lord that, please, my dear Lord, let me see your Samya Vapu form, your beautiful form, your sweet form. I love to see that. This is too ghastly for me. And so first Krishna showed his 400 form, and then finally he showed his 200 form, and Arjuna's mind became peaceful. When he saw the universal form, he was completely disturbed. But he requested for it. He wanted to see the universal form, and Krishna showed it to him. So, that universal form Krishna left behind was done because Krishna he did it for several reasons. Some of the reasons were he wanted to bewilder the non-devotees, the demons, who have no devotion. They have no love for the Lord, yet they want to understand the Lord. So he bewildered them by leaving that temporary universal form. And it's also said that Gandhari also cursed the Lord because in his presence, all the 100 sons of Gandhari were annihilated. So Gandhari blamed Krishna for that. And so he issued a curse that for allowing all my 100 sons to be killed, you will also be killed by an arrow. You allow my 100 sons to be killed by arrows, you yourself will also be killed by an arrow. And Krishna said, okay, if that's what you want, I will do that. So this display of the hunter coming to shoot Krishna and all this, it was just to fulfill the desire of Gandhari and also to bewilder the non-devotees. So Krishna's appearance is transcendental. His disappearance is also transcendental. But we need a lot of bhakti to understand how his appearance is transcendental and how his disappearance is transcendental. That is the challenge. Anyone who wants to understand Krishna's appearance and disappearance Jarma karma chame dibyum. As soon as we understand this, we are liberated. Krishna himself said that in Bhagavad Gita. So as soon as you understand my appearance and disappearance, my activities, you are liberated. You are no more part of this material world. So therefore, we have to understand that Krishna's appearance and disappearance are not of the material world. They are spiritual. Krishna designed it. Krishna enacted it like a person performing drama just to fulfill certain conditions, certain reasons. So that's why Krishna did that. And if Balaram could ride the Anantasesha back home, back to the spiritual world, what prevented Krishna from also passing the same way? After all, Balaram is an expansion of Krishna. So if Balaram could go back home by being carried by Anantasesha, what prevented Anantasesha from carrying Krishna, or what prevented Krishna from riding Anantasesha back home, back to Godhead? Because Krishna has such a plan, he did that. So it should be understood that the disappearance of the Lord by this process is his own arrangement. And he did that just to bewilder the non-devotees more and more and more. And so, as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, it's a very controversial issue, because the Mayavadis and the Gyanis, they want to prove that Krishna's body is material. So they said Krishna left a material body. Krishna's spirit went back home. He left a material body. But that body Krishna left is not a Satchidananda body. It is the Virat Rupa, the universal form, which is already part of this material creation. And so, because of this, it is said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to prove that the Lord is not bound by any laws. The living entity is bound by laws of birth, laws of growth, laws of aging, laws of death. The living entity is bound by these laws. We can't escape them. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not bound by these things. So if he performs things resembling these things, we should understand that he's just doing it for a purpose. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya, he did not pass that way. It is said for the last 12 years in his life in Puri, Lord Chaitanya, he won't sleep all night. He'll be hearing narrations from the Bhagavatam, from various scriptures. He'll be asking Ramananda Raya to recite prayers of the gopis for his satisfaction. And then also the Shastakam prayers. Those were his delicacy. He will recite the Shastakam prayers daily, several times at night. Nija Shastakam Padiya, Tara Arata Aswadila, Prema Vasita Hana. The Lord was so satisfied reciting the Shastakam prayers many times. He tasted them, he enjoyed them, he relished them. And as he chanted these Shastakam prayers again and again and again, his feelings of separation from Krishna increased. And at a point, he could not take it anymore. He entered into the total Gopinath deity. He could not take it anymore. Even our own Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj, he also passed away in such wonderful circumstances. Devotees were asking Guru Govinda Maharaj in 1996, here in Mayapur. The GBC meeting was going on, and he was in his room, And they go for a meeting in the evening. He was in his room, and devotees would go to him, and they would ask many esoteric questions. So they were asking him about the appearance of Lord Jagannath, and Gaura Govinda Maharaj was narrating that wonderful pastime of how the Jagannath form are the ecstatic forms of the Lord. And as he was narrating his pleasure, the bliss, his joy increased and increased and increased. He was relishing it unto the point. He just told the devotees, I cannot go beyond this point. Start kirtan. He said, start kirtan. I cannot go beyond this point. This is so much for me. And he just lay back on his bed, and he was gone. So even if a devotee can live at his own will, Lord Chaitanya left at his own will. Balaram left at his own will. Even Ramachandra, Lakshman, Shatrughna, Bharat, they all left at their own will. They were not forced by some circumstances. So why should Krishna not live by his own will? But Krishna did that just to fulfill certain situations desired by his devotees, as well as to bewilder the non-devotees. So that is why the Lord displayed this Moksha-lila, this departure, this rounding up of his earthly pastimes in this world. I would end here because I think I'm disturbing with my cough and catarrh, and my voice too, you can see, is not good. So let's end here. If there are any comments or questions, they're welcome. Otherwise, we call it a day. It's also late in India now. It's getting to, it's already past 1 hour, 9:46. So if there are any comments or questions, we can take. Otherwise, we have to take some rest. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the beautiful class as always. But almost every time you speak, you simply tease us, because just as we want to enjoy more of the Leela, situations demand that you have to leave, because it's obvious your health is not very good today.
Yeah.
It will not be wise for us to keep you here for so long. But dear devotees, if anyone may have a question or two, maybe Prabhuji may be able to take that. And we hope to have him back very soon. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. We are always here to serve.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sri Govinda Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead, Govinda Prabhu.
Please accept my respectful obeisances.
Accept mine also. Jai.
Jai Maharaj, all glories to Gurudev, all glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. And all glory to you
all
also.
Glory to you. All glory to you. Your wonderful service to devotees.
Hare Krishna.
And thank you very
all
much.
the wonderful devotees on this platform.
Jai. And thank you very much for the presentation. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
The first question is very simple. Krishna left his body. What happened to his body? Krishna is so different from his soul. His body and his soul is all the same. So
yeah.
When we say Krishna has left, what did he actually leave? What did he actually leave behind?
Yes.
And what happened to that body?
Yes.
That's the first question. And the second question is that when Arjuna requested to see the universal form of the Lord, the Lord told him that this form cannot be seen by the physical eyes. So therefore, I will give you spiritual eyes. So the spiritual eye was given to John before he could see the form of the Lord. I mean, the universal form of the Lord.
Yes.
So then why was he panicked? Why was he afraid? For the Lord has already empowered him. That's why he gave him that, special
Vision.
eye to see.
Yeah.
So what caused his fear?
Well, the first question I will read what Prabhupada writes in the beginning of the purport. It says, in this verse, the word Tyaksham is very significant in relation to Lord Krishna's leaving his body. Since he is the eternal form of existence, knowledge, and bliss, his body and himself are identical. Therefore, how is it possible that he would leave his body and then disappear from the vision of the world? Then he said that there is a great controversy among the non-devotees or Mayavadis about the mysterious disappearance of the Lord. And the doubts of those men with a poor fund of knowledge have been very elaborately cleared by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandarbhas. So, actually, Krishna just left the universal form because the universal form belongs to the material world. So he left it there to leave something because he has accepted the curse of Gandhari. Once he has accepted the curse of Gandhari, he must leave something. Otherwise, if he just disappeared, like the case of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who entered into the deity, only his galan was left. So that would not satisfy Gandhari because Gandhari had made a statement and the Lord said it will be fulfilled. So therefore, to fulfill Gandhari's desire, Krishna left the universal form there. And that universal form is part of matter. Though matter is also Krishna's energy. Even the material energy, Bahiranga Shakti, is Krishna's energy. But it functions differently from the spiritual energy. Just as the living entities, they are also energies of Krishna, but will also function differently. So each of these energies, they function differently, they perform different roles like that. So the form that Krishna left behind is said to be the universal form. Some acharyas say that body was cremated. Some acharyas also did not mention anything how it was disposed of, but some acharyas commented that that universal form, because is matter, it represents the material creation, it represents the universal creation, so it could be bent. But Krishna's eternal form, Satchidananda's eternal form, cannot be bent. It cannot be wetted. Just like the spirit soul also, Krishna also said the same thing, that the spirit soul is beyond the effect of fire, water, air, and so on. So the universal form that he left behind, some acharyas say it was cremated just to satisfy the wish of Gandhari, that yes, Krishna left something there and it's bent. And then that will also reinforce the non-devotees' perception that yes, Krishna died and he left a body and the body was cremated. But that is not true. In fact, it is said that right after that incident where Krishna left the body in Dwaraka, he appeared in Vrindavan. There's a place called Garuda Govinda. There's a place in Vrindavan. He said Krishna appeared there with Garuda and carried all the residents of Vrindavan back home, back to Godhead. He first took all his personal associates from Dwaraka, and then he added the residents of Vrindavan, Braj, and he took all of them back home, back to Godhead. So there are some so if you go to that temple in Vrindavan, they will narrate this story to you, how Krishna came here, this very spot, when we have the Garuda Govinda deity installed, that very spot, Krishna took all the residents of Braj back home, back to Godhead, after that incident of Krishna leaving his universal form in Dwaraka. So obviously, that is not Krishna. That is not his body. Krishna's body is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. It is beyond material laws, and therefore it cannot die, it cannot be bent. So all these things point to the fact that it's not Krishna's body, it is just a semblance, just to convince certain people that Krishna left this world by the shot of an arrow. Now, the second question, Arjuna becoming frightened, even though he was given spiritual eyes. Krishna had empowered him to see the universal form. You see, Arjuna was not expecting that form. So Arjuna is used to the 200 form. And sometimes Krishna also displayed the 400 form. So Arjuna is used to the 200 form and the 400 form. He had never seen that universal form. And even though Krishna has shown the universal form to different people, but this particular one Arjuna saw was just horrendous. It was just, it cannot be conceived. So when Arjuna saw that, because he was not expecting that form, he became frightened by seeing that. Even though the Lord was standing before him and had given him the divine vision to see this form, but Arjuna, seeing the gigantic form with so many heads and so many hands, and what was worse is that it was all the soldiers on the battlefield. They were all rushing into the mouth of the universal form. He was chewing them. So as Krishna said, "Time I am the destroyer of the worlds." Krishna was destroying the worlds. He was chewing all the soldiers. Arjuna could not bear that. So he immediately said, "Krishna, please, 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 this is too much for me. Let me see your Samya Vapu form, that beautiful form. This is too ghastly. I can't see it." Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yeah, Maharaj, it answers the question, but it's not really clear, because when we are engrossed with the material elements, then we have limitations. That all this fear is there because of the elements that we are using. They can experience the fear. But when one is using his transcendental body, it's beyond the moods of nature. And so when one has a spiritual eye, unless we're saying that spiritual eye also has a limitation.
No,
if
no
limitation. Then fear, pleasure, and displeasure can be experienced when one on that spiritual platform. So I'm still not clear. That, Arjuna was, and also again, the universal form of the Lord. Said Krishna left his universal form behind, not the actual original form of Krishna. So did he manifest the universal form like he manifests to Arjuna? Was it the same, like the same universal form shown to Arjuna?
No, not like that. But he manifested a form which looks like the human form. But the Acharyas explained that even that form is just the the representation of the universal form. So he did not leave a gigantic form there, no. He left a form which is like a human form, but that form is a representation of the universal form. Another point that we have to look at is that Krishna wanted to establish his authority in the world. And that's why he spoke Bhagavad Gita to establish his authority. And that is why he actually inspired Arjuna to request to show the universal form. And in order to let the world know the greatness of the Lord, or the greatness of Krishna, Arjuna was inspired to even exhibit the qualities of fear, because by that exhibition of the qualities of fear, he tells the world how great this universal form is. We were not there when Arjuna saw this universal form, but from the descriptions of the universal form and from his reaction when he saw the universal form is enough to let us understand how great the universal form is. Anytime I read chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, the section where Krishna displayed this universal form, I get a bit, uncomfortable with it, because it describes it in a very, very ghastly manner. So Krishna, he inspired Arjuna to react the way he reacted, so that the authority of Krishna in the world can be established. So that's another important point we have to consider.
Okay.
And whatever was happening, actually Krishna was dictating to Arjuna how to react, how to behave. Even his idea of going to the forest, he didn't want to fight. It was all inspired by Krishna. Krishna is seated right there in the heart of the living entity. And from him, knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness, all of these things are coming from the super soul. So we have to understand that Krishna is behind the reactions of Arjuna.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So any other comment or question? Otherwise, we run away. It's already 10 o'clock.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
I have a question, but I think we may have to postpone it till our next meeting, because it will take a while.
Okay.
And we want you to rest and recover. So, devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our revered speakers. Just like Lord Krishna appeared to Narada Muni, and he said, "You will see me again in this lifetime." This is just to make you have so much appetite for devotional service. So this is the relationship we have with Prabhuji. There isn't much time to ask enough questions, but this is to help us want to learn more and study more about the Srimad Bhagavatam. So when we meet next time, we can have our questions and doubts cleared. So on this note, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chanted the Lord Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker. His Grace, SRIVAS VANACARI. Jai. Hare
Krishna, Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama
Very well.